Had a sermon in a little bit with the occasion of the day of signing the armistice. You know that's supposed to be the end of the war, to end all war. Of course it wasn't. During that war, Our Lady appeared and said, pray the rosary, or there will be a worse war. And there was. So we really need to look at who we are. Do we have our priorities straight in terms of being the people of God and what we're about? Remember a couple weeks ago, we heard the gospel in terms of to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your spirit. And Jesus said, and also love your neighbor as yourself. So those two great commandments frame everything else that we're called to do and be. So we look at the scriptures today, and we get a sample, a real life sample of what that might mean. By the way, you look at two stories of the widows, the first reading and the gospel, and obviously those are our hinge pins for the day. These two women gave it all, but I can't help but be distracted. If you're a fundamentalist, there's so much fun you can have with those two. The first one, look at this lady who's, she's a pagan, and here's the prophet. He's going into pagan territory. So guess what? He's the immigrant. Yeah, he's the immigrant. And as an immigrant, he kind of makes demands, give me some water and I'll bring me food. Like, whoa, wait a minute. So you can imagine where a person could go with that sermon if you want to today. But that's not where it's not what it's about. And then you also see how she naturally, because she's a pagan, her God has not done her much good. Gods are based on the local territory, so she's starving. This foreigner comes in and says, hey, my God says you're not going to starve. So she had nothing to lose by trusting this other guy. And then you look at the part where he says, well, your jar's not going to dry until the day it rains. And guess what? The day it rains, that means the jar went dry and she's starved because you're not going to have crops for a long time yet. What did they live on from the time it ran dry till the crops came in? We don't know. So in other words, it's not about all those kind of details. Same thing in the gospel. How many of you believe we ought to follow Jesus' example? You believe that? Okay, we do. What did Jesus just do in that gospel? And having his apostles to do with him? He was observing everybody's gift. So if you're going to follow his example, make sure you pay attention when the offertory plate is taken up. It's like, wait a minute, no. See, again, that's not what the story's about. Huh? It's about this widow who gave the last cent, everything she had, to show that her concern for God. So, we're keeping our priorities, looking at the scripture in context. We say, yeah. And today I want to look at to serve God, certainly with all our heart. Serve family. That's our first neighbor that God gave us. To serve family with all our hearts. And in fact, when you got married, you were told you give yourself totally to your spouse, right? You totally surrender yourself, body, soul, spirit to your spouse, and you say, I give you my all for the rest of our lives. Even though really it's the children that get it all, right? But we promise it to the spouse. And then we look at the gift of the country, how we're called to give ourselves to the service of our country. And in doing so, you can't stop thinking. These are priorities: God, family, country. So we keep those in order. We can also look in order in terms of how do we carry it out, how do we serve. So we look at country. Think about how do we give it all? Well, literally in the military, you give it all. You don't give part, maybe. You lose a leg or an arm, but you got to give it all. Can you imagine going to your sergeant and saying, hey, Sergeant, I really am glad I get to serve in this, but there's a war going on right now. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 4 hours a day. Yeah. Like, no, I'm afraid that don't work. You're going to the front line, buddy. And then you may literally give it all. So it's that kind of commitment. In fact, I think that's why we see so much camaraderie, if you will, among those who have served in wars, because they know they have depended totally on each other. And you got to hold that in mind in terms of how does that relate to us in terms of giving ourselves totally. So we see the military, yes, give yourself totally to your country. But is that without qualification? No, we'll look at that. And then family. Give yourself totally to family. Is that without qualification? Again, no, because what's in here? Still God. All of them have to be in context with what does God ask in our life. So, example, military or country, if you will. If your country happens to be one that says, hey, we're going to be fascist, communist, analysis, Laos or whatever, it's like, guess what? We can't give ourselves totally that kind of regime, can we? Because it does not preserve what God has called us to. Faith, freedom of religion, and being able to care for our own families. So if the government sets up laws that go against what God has called us to, then obviously we got a challenge. We got a place to play. Matter of fact, it's sad this last week, even though the largest turnout for years in terms of midterm elections, there's still less than half the people, less than half of the population got out to vote. Like, wow, that's kind of sad. Because when we say you got to give it all, we can't even give 10 minutes to go vote. Like, wow, where is that? Because if we want our country to support what we know is right in terms of God's call, then we need to do our part as American citizens. We look at family. You got government, and the government's supposed to help family and help the freedom of religion. You got family. So how do we get all to the family? Well, my kids want to play ball every Sunday morning, come hell or high water. Oh, really? Is that really fitting within God's laws? Well, it means we can't go to church most of the time, but that's all right. Kind of making my kids happy. Whoa. Yeah. Is that keeping the priorities straight? Hardly. Family is called to be under God itself. And so we look at the need and responsibility of parents to help our young people evaluate everything they do in terms of what does God want in our lives. And then that brings us back to God. And we are called, like the widows in the first reading of the gospel. Are we willing to surrender all to God, knowing that He does care for us? Are we willing? We don't often show it, do we? To give it all means to be willing to give it all. And today we have to ask ourselves, we're willing to give it all in service of our country, and that's good. We're willing to give it all in service of our family, and that's good. What keeps us from giving it all to what God desires in our life in order to know that the jar will not run empty, we will not run dry, that God is always with us? What keeps you from giving it all? Ray, thank you. Thank you for serving as you have.